What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I take a moment to pause and give major props and thanks to my subscribers and followers. We're now approaching 877,000 subscribers at the time of this taping. Obviously, we've eclipsed over 3 million downloads on iHeartRadio as well. Can't thank y'all enough for the love and support. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming, all right? To make sure to continue to like the show and follow the show, just click the bell, and you too shall be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while doing that, make sure to pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback. Go to straightshooterbook.com. To check it out. Once again, that's straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy of my New York Times best-selling memoir. Obviously, it wouldn't be a bestseller if y'all didn't go out and buy it. So thank you again for that as well. Got to get started with some NFL stuff. Basketball season is rapidly approaching. I'm going to really step up my basketball stuff in the days and the weeks to come. That's going to go nonstop when it comes to talking about the NBA. But we're going to start off today's show with the NFL and the New York Jets, who fired head coach Robert Saleh in his fourth season after a 2-3 start and a 20-36 overall record. They've named defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich as the interim head coach. The Jets have now leveraged their future on Ulbrich, offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, and quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who many blame for Saleh's departure. Now, despite the 2-3 start and the upheaval in the coaching ranks, the Jets have a chance to play for first place in the AFC East when they take on the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. Let me say this real quick. I'm not blaming Aaron Rodgers for Robert Saleh getting fired. I'm blaming Robert Saleh for getting fired. But what I will tell you is this. For Aaron Rodgers to act like he was shocked and surprised and had absolutely nothing to do with it, that's just impossible to believe. It's just impossible to believe. Not saying he went and called for him to be fired, but your body language on your sideline, your body language with him, your level of frustration that you're exhibiting, the way that you've been playing, which is not up to your standards, combined with Robert Saleh, who was elite defensively because the Jets are a top-notch defense in the National Football League, so he had a lot to do with what was structured defensively there with Ulbrich, so we got to give credit to Saleh where it's due. But when you're the head coach in the National Football League, ladies and gentlemen, you got to be an overseer. You got to be somebody that shows you can handle defense, offense, special teams in terms of decision-making. And when it came to stuff on the offensive side of the ball, Saleh just didn't seem to be there. When it came to having the respect of players, it just didn't seem to be there. When it came to being demonstrative enough to make sure that you could provoke change when it was necessary so y'all could play better, it just didn't seem to be there. And so Woody Johnson, to me, didn't make the wrong decision. Now, for some people that will sit up there and say, well, guess what? Why now? Keep in mind, Woody Johnson didn't hire him. Woody Johnson's brother, Christopher, that's the one. Christopher Johnson is the one that hired Robert Saleh. Woody Johnson was the ambassador to the United Kingdom during the Trump administration while all of that was going on. And so he didn't have a lot to do with the hiring, and he told us that when he said he had reservations for the last couple of years. Now, why would he say that? You just hired him a couple of years ago. What the hell was that about? So I don't believe that for 1 second. Now, having said all of that, let's say this. It's on Aaron Rodgers now. You got to find a way to step your game up and get it done. Because guess what? New York ain't been in the playoffs since 2010. They've had horrific quarterback play over the years. You're certainly not that, but they ain't going to give Aaron Rodgers any favors either. This ain't Green Bay. You can't be telling people, relax, R-E-L-A-X, relax. Nobody want to hear that shit. You got the ball, bro. You got the ball. Now, in order to do that, you probably need another receiver. And I get that. And by the way, for Nathaniel Hackett, his father was an elite college coach who coached in the NFL under the Bill Belichick's, the Marty Schottenheimers of the world, Bill Walsh's, rather, of the world, stuff like that. And so when you look at the fact that this man has had multiple jobs as an offensive coordinator and one as a head coach, considering his level of ineptitude, it's the epitome of nepotism. I just need to say that about Nathaniel Hackett. I'm going to get that out the way. Now let me move on to what Aaron Rodgers may really, really need. And that's Raiders wide receiver Davonte Adams, who wants out of Las Vegas and reportedly wants to be reunited with either Derek Carr, now injured in New Orleans, or former quarterback Aaron Rodgers in New York, like I just been saying. My Steelers, the Bills, the Chiefs also have interest, according to reports. I think the Baltimore Ravens should be on that list as well. I personally don't think the Jets would be the wisest move for Adams to make. Damn your personal feelings. Damn it. Now Aaron Rodgers can fling that football. And I get all of that. But you got a future to think about beyond this year. And who the hell knows what quarterback the Jets are going to have if Aaron Rodgers decides to walk away after this season. You Davonte Adams, my bro, you got to be smarter than that. You should be looking at the Buffalo Bills because of Josh Allen. He ain't going anywhere. And he's durable and reliable. You should be looking at Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. You should be looking at Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. That's the three places you should be looking. And dare I say Dallas, since they got a $60 million quarterback in Dak Prescott. I ain't saying you're going to get him now. But the point is, those are the kind of teams that you should be looking about. And obviously, Dak is way down on my list compared to the three aforementioned quarterbacks I mentioned. Hell no. But that's where you need to be on. It ain't about your love affair and friendship with the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes can figure out how to get you the ball. Josh Allen can figure out how to get you the ball. Lamar Jackson can figure out how to get you the ball. That's where you should be going, bro. That's where you should be going. Stop playing. Stop playing. I know, listen, I gave you props for going to Sin City after being in Green Bay where they ain't got shit but cheese. I didn't blame you for leaving Green Bay and wanting to go to Sin City. Get your groove on. A lot of stuff that happens in Sin City stays in Sin City. I got that. But now that you've gotten over that, you got to find yourself in a winning situation. You're too elite to be at home watching the postseason while some of these cats are playing because you can't pick the right quarterback to throw you the football. You got to do better, Davonte Adams. You a big-time baller, man. I don't know if you can trust the Rodgers situation in New York. And you damn sure don't need to be going to New Orleans with Derek Carr. He still got to get the ball to Chris Olave. Still got to give the ball to Alvin Kamara. So I'm just saying, Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City. Think about that, bro. Think about it. Joining me now to discuss all things NFL is my brother. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. All he did was catch touchdown passes. But that's not all he did in life. He just got back from London. Prior to that, he was in Paris, at Paris. But the wife wanted to go to Paris, so he went to Paris, and then he went to London, and then he called me from London bragging about the Vikings when they had intercepted Aaron Rodgers not once but twice, acting like he was going to get blown out of the building, and then I ain't hear from him when the game got scary close, by the way. I'm talking about the one and only Cris Carter. What's up, CC? What's going on, bro? What's up, man?
It's good, man. It's good. I'm all for the Vikings win, but I didn't think that we starting to retire coaches now. I mean, I didn't think, beating up on the Jets like that. I didn't think that the end result would be that Robert Saleh would lose his job.
How shocked were you that Woody Johnson decided to let go of Saleh just 5 games into the season?
I mean, very shocked. If you look at the Johnson's record as far as with the Jets the last 25 years, now, that track record is not good, but at least from a coaching standpoint, even the worst coaches they've had, none of them they fired this early in the season or early in the season. So it lets you know that they are definitely not satisfied with the product. And they do believe, regardless of what we think, that this team might have a chance. That's the only reason why you would fire a coach with Aaron Rodgers healthy and you only being 2-3. And if you beat Buffalo next Monday night, you're tied for first in your division. So they feel like they can still salvage this season.
Well, you're damn right they got a chance. First of all, they got an elite defense. Secondly, and more importantly, you still got Aaron Rodgers. The Buffalo Bills isn't looking great over the last 2 weeks or so. We know what happened with Miami since Tua's gone down. We're looking at the rest of the AFC. There are people there who could be had. Even Kansas City, 5-0, still look vulnerable because most of their games was tight before they ramrodded New Orleans on Monday night. But let me get a bit personal here. Did you think Saleh deserved to be fired? And do you believe that Aaron Rodgers had absolutely nothing to do with him being fired?
Well, I think both of those things are probably true. First of all, you're not going to fire a head coach without consideration from a 40-year-old veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. Like when I decided to leave Green Bay, we're in partnership. Like we're trying to bring a Super Bowl to the Jets. But I'm going to look at all the personnel decisions Aaron Rodgers had a hand in. Now, because those decisions weren't good, last year he wants a slot receiver, goes after one of his former slot receivers there in Green Bay, Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb was washed up. Like he didn't have no good football left in him. And if you look at what he's doing now, Alan Lazard, I watched him the other night in London. He's not that explosive as you would think for a 6'5", 225-pound wide receiver. You know, so Aaron Rodgers has played the role in the personnel. He played a role in the offensive coordinator being there. So now you just want me to close my eyes and my ears, everything I've ever observed in my life, to think that he didn't have anything to do with the coach being gone, that I would be a little naive to think that.
I'm just saying, man, where's my brother that's like, come on, man. I don't see that guy today. You know, you look a little mellow. You know what I'm saying? You was in London and stuff like that, flying overseas and shit. Might be a little jet lag. You looking a little mellow today. I'm just wondering. You seem a bit nicer than I thought you was going to be about this subject.
Well, the thing about it is I realized that you can't have two yelling brothers on the show. So I come in with the information. Like, these are facts. The Jets are going to do what they want to do. But you also now, you're trying to judge an organization that is not good at football. I mean, all the things that they've done, general manager through the years, drafting players through the years, like, they didn't look like a Super Bowl caliber team, regardless of what the owner thinks about them. But when you look at how bad the offenses have been with Robert Saleh as the head coach, but you can't be encouraged by Nathaniel Hackett, by what he did those last 2 years in Green Bay, what he did with Denver, and what he's done with the Jets. So for me, I'm going to keep the coach because I don't believe that there's a solution in the building, especially being that close and having very good personnel, that the Jets do have very good personnel.
Before I ask you this question about Aaron Rodgers, and I get off this subject, I'd be remiss in neglecting to play sound from Aaron Rodgers. He appeared on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN around a little bit after 12 noon today. And listen to what Aaron Rodgers had to say on the Pat McAfee show. Check it out before I ask you my question.
I would love to offer you the floor to kind of explain how yesterday went down, your thoughts on it all, and how you think we got to this point that we're at with the New York Jets organization in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a day that reminds you of the simple fact that all of us who played know all too well, and that's that it's a tough business. It's a beautiful profession. It's incredible. It's done so much for our lives, but it's also a really tough business. I love Coach Saleh. We have a very solid relationship. We have since, I met him in 2021 and had a nice conversation when they came and visited us for joint practices. He was a big reason why I came to the Jets. I felt like the team, was a solid team. Had a relationship with Coach Hackett, obviously, and I really liked Coach Saleh. As far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than one sentence in response to it, and that is that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that I have, which I don't. But I love Robert, and it was, one of those days yesterday.
See, this excuse my language, CC. This is the shit that pisses me off about Aaron Rodgers. Now, we know who's the brother that coined him. He's a bad man. That would be me. Damn it, I was accused of having a man crush on this brother because I got that much love for him. I think he's one of the greatest throwers of the game of football has ever seen, okay? But I hate when he does that, all right? You're not going to dignify the response. You're not going to lie. I mean, you have nothing to say. You love it that people think you have that amount of power. Well, what the hell is Nathaniel Hackett doing being there if you don't have that kind of power? What are you talking about? I mean, it makes no sense. You're one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived. They gave everything to get you to the franchise. And now it's ridiculous for us to surmise that if the coach was fired, that Woody Johnson didn't talk to you first before he made the decision, or somebody didn't talk to you first. See, how much do you believe Aaron Rodgers when he takes this position?
Well, this is what I do know. I'm not going to get into an open media debate with Aaron Rodgers. Did he have anything to do with it? I know this. If you play damn better, the coach don't get fired. So you do have something to do with the coach, being fired. And you had tremendous amount of input on everything going on inside the organization. To me, if Aaron Rodgers was open to a more open offense, a lot like Tom Brady was when he went to Tampa Bay, things weren't going smooth there. I think they had a bye week number 11. They finally got their offense together. They barely got into the playoffs and ended up going to the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning was a shell of himself at the end of his career in Denver. But you could see the third leadership and how much guys respected them, that they were able to get it done and win championships, even though they weren't playing well. Aaron Rodgers is not moving well in the pocket. Aaron Rodgers is not the athlete that he was. And just like Dan Marino and a lot of other great quarterbacks, it's either their scheme or their legs that start to fail them late in their career. And to me, A-Rod does not have that pop in his legs. He cannot get away from people the way he was. In the last 2 weeks, if you look at what Denver did to him and what the Vikings did to him, this is a copycat league, bro. They getting ready to blitz him. They're going to put 6 men up to the line of scrimmage. That's what Denver did, exactly what the Vikings did, and compile all those hits against Aaron Rodgers, because that system, they don't have enough hots and breaks to be able to go against that type of system. So that was the problem in Green Bay, why the offense struggled the last 2 years, because Aaron wants to do what Aaron wants to do. So all these stubborn things, and by the way, Aaron Rodgers is not great at relationships. Who's he have great relationships?
Oh, that's where we going now? That's where we going now. We're going to go to Dear Abby route now. We're going to go to Dear Abby right now. He's not great with relationships. The Jets ain't been in the playoffs since 2010. I don't give a damn about the relationship. They need to follow whatever the hell he says follow. I mean, they ain't got anything better to do. Their GM, Joe Douglas, is 29-59, top of the second worst record in the NFL since 2019. With Jacksonville, only the Carolina Panthers have been worse. You damn right they got to sit up there and listen to Aaron Rodgers.
When you decide that you're going Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you are getting ready to do things his way. And he's only got one way. You know, when you play that long in Green Bay, he got spoiled, just like Brett Favre did. And now this is what you get with the Jets. When you mismanage, who's going to be your quarterback, who's going to be your offensive play caller, and you let him dictate those things, you are married to this bad result. Like, that's one thing about the NFL, man. There ain't no exit strategy. Like, there ain't no way to get out of this. Like, typically, we most get knocked out of this business. And typically, our great players end up going somewhere else, playing in an unfamiliar jersey, playing in a way that we are unfamiliar with. And that's what I saw in London. He had on the green, but it was not Packer green. It had that Packer magic.
Let's go to your wheelhouse with Davonte Adams, wide receiver extraordinaire, once out of Las Vegas, has had a falling out by all reports with Antonio Pierce, the head coach who was the interim coach last year, got promoted to the head coach. 1 minute the players are looking to walk through a wall for him, run through a wall for him. Another year, just a season later, some players look like they want to throw him into the damn wall. What the hell is going on in Vegas, and what do you think about Davonte Adams wanting to leave?
Well, when you bring him there, he's the best receiver in football. And then once Derek Carr, because he came there for not just for the money, because Green Bay would have paid him that, other teams would have paid him that. He came there to play with his college buddy. But once Derek Carr leaves, if you don't have a competent quarterback there, when I talked to AP last year at the Super Bowl, we talked about what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to get me a quarterback. We're like, bro, you better get you a quarterback because you're going to need it. And when you don't have a quarterback, wide receivers, myself included, we are some of the most selfish species in the world. And right now, you are seeing what wide receivers do. When you don't put us with a quarterback, it ain't about the money. We still want the stats, and we still want to win. But we can't win unless we can get our hands on the football. So we're very, very selfish. And that's what you are seeing now in the ultimate team sport. He's trying to look out what's for the best interest for himself personally, his own brand, and his own business.
Doesn't he need to be smarter? You stayed in Green Bay and then you wanted to leave because Aaron Rodgers couldn't make up his mind whether he wanted to keep playing or retiring. And then with the plethora of places you could have gone, you decide you want to go to Vegas just because your boy Derek Carr is there. And he was no all-world kind of quarterback. He was good, but he was no all-world kind of quarterback. You go into Vegas, Josh McDaniel is there. He ends up out of there. Derek Carr ends up out of there. And now you didn't want to play with the Garoppolos and the O'Connells and, of course, the Gardner Minshews of the world. So now that the situation is surmising for just a second that Davonte Adams has learned the error of his ways, where do you believe the ideal place is for him to go?
There is no ideal place for him. I believe the Saints.
What?
The Saints have wide receivers. Derek Carr's not going to get any better if they get another wide receiver. If he goes to the Saints, now they're crowded. Chris Olave, he's done well though. Like, he's on his way to being a Pro Bowl player in the third year. Like, why would you bring another veteran in? They got the young receiver, the special teams player, made all pro last year. Shaheed, man, he's got blazing speed, number 22. Like, so they got a nice combination there. So then, if you bring in a veteran, sometimes you stunt the growth of younger players. I believe that you should go to the Jets, him and Aaron Rodgers. Won't y'all finish this thing off?
Hell no. That is terrible. That is terrible. The Jets, listen, I like him with Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't been what we expected him to be in all likelihood because he's still recovering from that Achilles injuries. He's a station.
But who else do they have besides Garrett Wilson, bro?
I agree with that, but how about Kansas City? Rice is out for the year. How about, even though they ain't going to trade him within the division, I understand that. How about the Baltimore Ravens? How about Buffalo with Josh Allen?
Well, this is the thing, all right? There are many options that are better than the Jets. That being, to me, all those options, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore. But to me, I believe that he might be leaning towards a more personal relationship. I don't know Davonte Adams, but at this point in your career, you have most of the accolades. I would be trying to win. The best football coach,
right?
The best play caller, the best scheme is Andy Reid. And it's not even close whoever's second. So if I can get to Kansas City for less money and play with the magician in Mahomes and play with Andy Reid, because they still make football fun. Every time I watch them, the game looks fun. And they're in desperate need of a number one receiver, because Travis Kelce at this age will not be able to do that for the length of the season. So they still need a number one receiver. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. But I don't know what makes Davonte Adams tick. To me, it was personal relationships. Kansas City is a no-brainer if he can get there.
How about the personal relationship? This ain't Dear Abby, man. You know what I'm saying? He ain't going to there to sit on a damn couch. You got to play some football. The brother is too nice. He's too special to be thinking about them damn personal feelings. He need to get in the best winning situation and being with an elite quarterback where you know he going to be able to put up digits because he got a quarterback that can give him the damn football. Speaking of extraordinary quarterbacks, it's young in his career. We only 5 games in. But this brother, Jaden Daniels, in the nation's capital. Commanders are 4-1. Yo, see, they could win the division, bro. What's their ceiling in your eyes? The way this brother's playing, complete 77% of his passes, 1,135 yards, 300 rush yards, only trailing Lamar Jackson. This brother's on another level right now. How far can you see the Commanders going this year?
Well, we always have 2 or 3 teams that come from nowhere in the league. And that's one of the things that makes the NFL special. The draft situation, where the worst teams are getting the best players coming from college football. Now, my scouting department, how can I get one of these great young quarterbacks? Because we got them coming into the league who can throw it better than ever and also be dual threats. How can I get them in my building? Well, the number one thing you need is you need people to be able to make mistakes. You need certain people to be able to fall in love with the other girl before you get to the dance floor. You ask her to dance, and he already took her out. And come to find out in 10, 15 years, man, he made a mistake, bro. And that's what you have in Washington. I believe Dan Quinn, and especially in his second time around as a head coach, he's one of the most well-respected defensive minds out there. But as a coach, he relates to the players and what they're trying to do. I remember doing TV and going in to interview him before the game, and the reception of the players in Atlanta and their whole vibe that they had around the organization, that if he can get in another team and get him a good quarterback, and that's what they have in Jaden Daniels. Go back to his freshman year at Arizona State with Herm Edwards. He was already a dual threat then. You could see, man, if he gained some weight, he could be special. And then getting a couple of years in the SEC, a lot like Joe Burrows, the same thing. Man, Washington, they got it right, but also you got to get a little lucky. Carolina, 2 years ago, they decided they're going to take the guy from Bama, C.J. Stroud. This year, we have Caleb Williams. Bears fell in love with him, but the best player in this year's draft is Jaden Daniels.
Let me give you let me give you the last word. I mean, I don't feel like it. It is my damn show, but with you and your damn Vikings and stuff like that, wearing, waving your purple towels and wearing your purple, warm up sweatshirt and all this other stuff. They are 5-0. I can't front. Brian Flores he's doing that thing. He's showing that he's a worthy head coaching candidate in this NFL. We all know he wanted Justin Herbert instead of Tua Tagovailoa in Miami, and that precipitated his downfall near South Beach. But it's a new day, and I didn't expect this from the Minnesota Vikings. O'Connell, I give him a lot of credit. He looks like he's a hell of a head coach. Brian Flores is clearly a hell of a defensive coordinator. They're 5-0 heading into their bye week. What's the realistic expectation for this team in terms of how far they can go? Last question to you.
Well, because now we've been through at least a third of the season almost. I mean, you can really start to see teams with certain traits and identity. Like, okay, what is this team? And we know they're a defensive dominant team that has multiple pressured looks. They're leading the league in sacks. I think they got 11 or 12 interceptions. Like, those types of things create a theme and a vibe within inside of a team. And now, yes, we know we have Sam Darnold, still only 27, but he still got a lot of stars from his past with the Jets and other teams in the NFL. So he played his absolute worst game against a good defense and the Jets, and we were still able to win. A lot like Kansas City has done. 2 of their 5 wins have been in an ugly fashion. So you
complaining yourself, you comparing yourself to Kansas City, the 2-time reigning defending Super Bowl champions. That's what we doing now. That's what we doing. CC?
Well, Tiger Woods said, "I won the golf tournament with my C game." The Vikings went to London and they won with their C football game. Sam Darnold's going to have to play better, but man, Kevin O'Connell had dudes wide open that he was missing, and that defensive pressure and the ability to turn people over. That's going to be a constant this year. They got a top flight special team. Kicker is good from 54 in. They got a good schedule. They got a home field advantage. And yes, man, it's okay. I talked to the equipment guy. I told him you're a large right now. You're a little fitter than you was last year. He saw you last year and thought your face was fat, thought you was extra large. I was like, no, I saw the brother in no, dude, and slimmed up, tightened up. We're going to get you some large Vikings gear. So by December, when it comes around, you won't look like you're just getting on the bandwagon and everything. You already have some Viking stuff ready.
See, that's some bullshit you talking about. That's some bullshit you talking right there. Because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to say to me, I want you to get to Minnesota. But guess what? I won't be able to wear the shit because it's too damn cold in Minnesota. One of the coldest states in the country. I've been in Minnesota before, okay? I don't even understand how people state it. I'm still wondering how lucky are y'all to have Anthony Edwards, because he should have wanted to leave that place, just because of the cold weather alone. One of my best friends ever, my man Boris Battle, works for the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? We were college teammates together at Winston-Salem State. Has 2 beautiful children. Years ago, he had introduced me to them. My first words out of his mouth was, how could you do this to them? How could you have them living in Minnesota in this cold-ass weather?
Hey, bro, I went up there and had a great career. Great things are happening up there. Maybe Stephen A. Smith, the worldly guy, global. Come on, man. You need to start thinking outside the box, man. You can't be geographically, big city. Now you're just a big city. Only if you ain't in LA. I know you're in LA right now, laying back. I know you got the crib down in Miami. I know you like to call yourself a New Yorker and everything, but listen, bro, there's a big part of the Midwest and upper Midwest. They playing some good football up there. Don't miss out on the 24 football season because you got this ideology, all these teams got to be from Philly or Dallas or somewhere like that, man. We playing good ball up there and rest now.
CC.
I hope the Vikings fans get me DMs.
CC, where you been living for the last 35 years?
In Florida, but I made my bread up in Minnesota, man.
Yeah, in Florida. You understand? You in and out of Minnesota inside of 24 hours, and you gonna give me a damn lecture over here over the digital airways. You know your ass don't stay there more than 24 hours. So why'd you even start it? Just stop it.
Do you want me to turn the camera towards the palm trees, dog? I'm not lying.
Don't do it. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Love you, bro. Appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks a lot, man.
For sure. Okay.
The one and only CC. The one and only Cris Carter right here with Stephen A. and the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. You heard his perspective about all things NFL. Had to get it from him, no doubt about that, so I can be finished with all of that. I've heard the last word. I'm giving it to him. He's got the last word on that topic. Coming up, the WNBA Finals are set between the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx, another Minnesota team. Good Lord. I'll dive into who has the edge coming up, but first, the presidential election is now less than 4 weeks away. So how important is the black vote this time around? Oh, I got something to say about that, as well as my guest, Roland Martin, in the house. Don't touch that dial. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show coming your way. Back with more in a minute. Okay, everybody, you know what time it is. It's time for Stephen A's Weekly Sports Picks. In case you didn't know, I've teamed up with Prize Picks to bring you my favorite picks on every big-time game or sporting event. You see, Prize Picks is a skill-based, real-money daily fantasy sports game where you select 2 or more players and predict if they'll have more or less on their projected stats for the game or contest. It's not only super exciting, but incredibly easy to play and takes only 60 seconds. Repeat. Only 60 seconds to make your picks. Pick the stats for Josh Allen, Garrett Cole, or Kevin Durant, and then sit back and watch that big money roll right in. And get this, sign up with code SAS, and Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on Prize Picks, and you'll get $50 instantly. Now, let's see my winning picks, okay? Today, I'll be making picks for Thursday night's NFL game. First up, San Francisco caller Brock Purdy, more or less than 252.5 passing yards. I'm going with more on this. I know that San Francisco's been struggling, but they lost a couple of games in a row. They're getting desperate. I think that Kyle Shanahan's going to come up with some tricks out of his sleeve and get Brock Purdy going, and I think he'll have more than the 252.5 passing yards. I'm going to go with more on this one, please. Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith, more or less than 253.5 passing yards himself. I'm definitely going to go more with Geno Smith. He's got DK Metcalf. And he's been putting up yardage. They haven't been winning over the last couple of weeks. They got to get their act together, okay? McDonald is the new coach and what have you. Some problems with their defense, some problem with some other stuff as well. But in the end, Geno Smith can fling that football, and can he put up more than 253 yards? Yes, he can. Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf, I just brought him up. More or less than 66.5 receiving yards. I think he's one of the best receivers in football. I think he's an absolute stud. By the way, I got to give him mad credit. Part of the reason my stomach went down and some of the exercises I've employed, DK Metcalf personally gave me advice on that. Every time he sees me, it brings it up, and he's right. I'm going to give him love for that because that brother's in shape. Make no mistake about it. I'm going with more because he's a stud. And even though San Francisco's could show up, DK Metcalf is DK Metcalf. I'm going to say more than 66.5 receiving yards. Finally, 49ers running back Jordan Mason. Who's the hell this dude? More or less than 83.5 receiving yards. Receiving yards out of the running back spot. I'm not going for rushing yards. I'm sorry. Running yards for Jordan Mason. I'm gonna go with less. I don't think Seattle's going to let him run the football effectively to that degree. I could see him getting 60 or 70, 83.5. I'm going to go with less on this one, okay? It's going to be a tough game as well. San Francisco and Seattle are both going in the wrong direction, both trying to make amends, make up for stuff, and do what they need to do. So it's going to be a real tough game. I don't think it's going to be good for the running game of the San Francisco 49ers, though, okay? So you saw what I got, okay? I got Brock Purdy with more. I got Geno Smith with more. I've got DK Metcalf with more, and I've got Mason with less. Those are my picks. Flow with me, because I've been flowing when I've been doing Prize Picks, in case you've missed it. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube and iHeartRadio. Let's get to the politics in the presidential election, which is now less than 4 weeks away. There are several key demographics that can swing the election in any direction for Democratic nominee Vice President Kamala Harris or Republican nominee and former President Donald Trump. One group that many aren't taking into consideration, as far as I'm concerned, is black men. And I say that based on a New York Times column written very recently by Charles Coleman Jr. Take a look at this excerpt from the column right here. Quote, "Black men today face a unique reality that warrants consideration. Under nearly any relevant index for measuring the quality of American life, how far we get in school, our finances when compared to those of our white counterparts, and how long we will live, black men consistently rank last or near last. There is not a black man alive in this country right now who has ever seen black male unemployment equal to or less than that of his white counterparts. This is true even more acutely for a 34-year-old black man born in 1990 who may have voted in every presidential election since his 18th birthday, saw the election of a black president, and spent more of his adult life with Democrats in the Oval Office than Republicans. How could we not be asking ourselves, come November, which candidate can help us change course? End quote. Again, that was written by Charles Coleman Jr. He ain't better than my next guest. That article was well written, giving him props. But damn it, he ain't Roland Martin. He ain't Roland Martin unfiltered. That's who I got right here, right now. What's up, big boy? How you doing, man? How's everything?
Hey, Charles, a nice brother, but he does belong to that youth group called Omega Psi Phi.
That's right. Oh, no. I take every word I said. I take every word I said. That brother brilliant. Well, you watch your mouth. You watch your mouth. Oh, by the way, Roland, I saw you stepping. I said, oh, damn. Roland was getting it on. I had to give you props like that. I didn't know, bro. I didn't know, bro. Not at all. Let me ask you this, man. When you read this article and all, now I got you. Keep it going, because you keeping it going, bro. You was moving pretty damn good. Way to go. And leading the pack, by the way. You were doing your thing in front of an audience. It wasn't in private. You were doing your thing. I got to give it to you. Let's get to this article, Roland. When I read you what I just read, I know you read the whole article, but when I read you what I just read, how did you feel about what he had to say in that column?
So there are a number of things that Charles wrote that I've literally talked about on my show and actually have been talking about for the last 12 years. So let me unpack that. In 2012, first of all, I sent you guys a graphic. So in 2008, black men, 95% voted for Obama, 5% voted for then Senator McCain. Then it jumps to 11 in 2012. Why is that? Because you heard black men were saying they felt that Obama did not deliver. So there was a 9-point gap between black men and black women. So then when you go to 2016, then the number increases. A lot of people kept saying misogyny, they ain't supporting a woman in Hillary Clinton, but they ignored it was 2 men in 2012. Now you go to 2020, it was 2 men, Biden and Trump. And what then happens? Same thing. Okay, you see the number increase. Now, the chart that you just showed, it's important to understand. Black men.
It's still up there.
Black men are like all other men. They're naturally more conservative. White men, Hispanic men, Asian men, black men.
That's true.
That's a male issue. But when it comes to Democrats, black women are their number 1 voting bloc. Black men are still their number 2. So what do you now like? So like, what's going on here? What's the difference? What Trump does, Trump presents this tough guy. I'm manhood. I'm a do what I say. I say what I mean. That is attractive. Right. That's attractive to a certain group of men. Now, when Charles was talking about this dissatisfaction in terms of these perceptions that, the Democratic Party is a party of women. Well, first of all, perception is a lie. And we say sometimes one perception becomes reality. Here's the reality about black men. Who's the highest ranking black man in the Democratic Party? No, the highest ranking African American in the Democratic Party. You got Vice President Kamala
Would that be
Harris.
Hakeem? Right.
But the minority leader is Hakeem Jeffries. Who was the person who actually made it possible for Biden to win? Congressman Jim Clyburn. Are there more black male members? There are 3 black members of the United States Senate. There are 4. 3 men, 1 woman. Okay? 3 Democrat, 1 Republican, and Tim Scott. In the House, there are more black men than black women. We can keep going on and on and on. Now, what brothers are reacting to, and I've heard this for the last decade, brothers are reacting to, all they hear is black girl magic, black girl magic, black girl magic. But what black men got to understand is we've been the ones getting all the attention for decades. We got to take into account paternalism, sexism, misogyny. So, for instance, if I ask, I guarantee you this, Stephen A., and not just brothers with high school diplomas, brothers with college degrees, if I ask them, how does the Montgomery boycott start? They gonna say, oh, that was Dr. King and the preachers. No, it wasn't. It was Joanne Robinson, an Alabama State professor, and the Women's Political Council. They're the ones who started the bus boycott. So we have to understand that men, let's go to Shirley Chisholm. When she ran for president at the Black Political Convention in Gary, Indiana, the black men did not want to endorse her.
Right.
They didn't want to endorse her. So we got
to so that level of misogyny is not just about black men, it's about men, period. Across the board, whether it's white, black, Hispanic, or whatever. Misogyny, stereotypes, those kind of things. I got you.
Men thinking a woman shouldn't do certain jobs or she can't be a leader. Well, the reality is there have been female leaders all across the world. Mexico, female president. India, Golda Meir was leading. We can go on and on and on.
Okay.
But what Charles laid out, it is true that it's a huge piece here. What Democrat, and I'm gonna say Democratic white strategists don't understand, is that the further you get away from the Black Civil Rights Movement, black people less self-identify as Democrats. You and I are Gen X. I've been really paying attention to this since I graduated from college in 1991. You and I are in different tax brackets than our parents. You and I, and others are focusing on things that our parents didn't focus on. So what now begins to happen? You now begin to look at stuff differently. If you never owned a business, you didn't care about a corporate tax rate. You now own the business, you do.
Yes, you do.
So it's a pocketbook issue. So what Democrats have not done is they have not crafted a strategy on how do you micro-target black people. You got to talk to a college-educated black woman different from a non-educated black woman. You got to talk to a brother who in rural America different than urban America. They've always had sort of this one-size-fits-all. But so what you're now seeing in the data, you're now seeing people go, you ain't talking to me, so I'm going to start looking at other options.
Okay, and I'm saying to you, and this is where I can get on you, because you dropping facts, I'm not disputing it, but then you'll turn around and you'll point out how folks on the right, well, you know what, they ain't worth a damn. Look at what we trying to do here on the left. But on the left, you've got folks that are strategists that are in the ears and in the head of candidates that are manipulating the proceedings, and they ain't paying attention to our community, like you just highlighted.
But here's the problem. The problem is the strategy don't look like me and you. So the problem.
I agree.
So the problem is the strategists control the money, control the messaging. They're not paying attention to the streets. They're not paying attention to the ground. So when you listen to the ground, you now got to realize you now have to communicate with people differently. Now, when I went through Charles's column, he was talking about issues, criminal justice reform. He was talking about health, things on those lines. Here are the facts, and it's just flat out facts. When you look at the difference between Trump, Harris, Democrats, and Republicans wanted to end the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act specifically has helped black folks get insurance, which means help black men. So when black men say, well, I need to hear something specific. Well, when the vice president worked on 3.5 years, the issue of black infant mortality, that impacts black men. I had a brother say, no, it don't. I said, brother, when she's talking about infant mortality, she ain't just talking about the sister with the baby, because the sister is birthing black boys. I said, that's
but my problem. Stop right there. I need you to stop right there, because my point is, I ran into to Senator Cris Coon. I know you know who that is, based out of Delaware. All right, Cris Coon, based out of Delaware. He's done some HBCU work with me, and I really, really appreciate him for that. Right. But he asked me about a question. I brought up your name because obviously anytime somebody's talking to me about politics, particularly on the left and what they're trying to do and voices out there that should be listened to and heard, I always point them in your direction, my brother. I never hesitate. Don't come to me. Listen to that brother right there. He know a lot more about that. I'm venturing into it. I ain't trying to be no expert in this lane. I don't want no parts of it. But I will say this to you. The messenger matters as much as the message. And if you're going to sit there and say, we've got a vice president who is black, who is the Democratic nominee for the president, who is a black woman, who we have a minority, Speaker of the House, in Hakeem Jeffries, he's black. We saw, Clyburn, he got Biden elected. If you're going to bring up all of these things, then how do these surrogates, how do these folks that are really financing the campaigns and what have you get away with not paying attention to the black community when you know you need them in order to win? Why are those folks in power letting these folks get away with that? Are you trying to win or are you not?
Right. And first of all, you're absolutely right. And messages do matter. I can tell you in 2016, on the night of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation ALC dinner, I literally told Hillary Clinton to her face, listen, you're going to lose this because your people got their heads stuck in their iPads, not listening to the ground. I told her, I've been trying to get your black male surrogates on my show and your people are not responding. And she was high. She said, she literally said to Huma and to Marlon Marshall, if Roland's not getting them, I know others are not as well. And so you've got to have the voices out there. I can tell you, black men were saying early in the Biden-Harris administration, where are your black male administrative folks? And so you're right. You got to be sending out trusted messengers. What the vice president has been doing is she sees it as an opportunity. She's been speaking to them when she's been speaking to the various groups. She's been having the conversations, but you got to have more conversations. But this is now where the challenge comes in. Here's the challenge now, Stephen A. And I wrote everything Charles wrote. Well, I'm gonna tell you something about blow you away. When the black women
go ahead, I'm listening.
When the black women met in 2020, Win with Black Women, they launched that to get her the VP nomination. She got it. They kept meeting. They've been meeting every Sunday for 4 years. Do you know how many times brothers were like, yo, man, we got to meet? And I said, we'll organize it. It never happened. Do you know why? Because typically when stuff got organized in the black community, sisters are the one that did it. So when we did the Win with Black Men call, phenomenal. 55,000 folks were on the call the day after the sisters did. But guess what? It's a whole bunch of these brothers ain't been on the call since then. So here's what I'm saying to Charles and to every black man out there. I can't wait for the Democratic Party to speak to black men. I need black men mobilizing and organizing, speaking to black men about our issues. So I have been, this goes back more than a decade. I have directly challenged my frat Alpha Phi Alpha. I've challenged all the fraternities in Divine Nine, but also I challenged the Prince Hall Masons. I challenged black men's groups. See, we can sit here and say, hey, you know what? The party ain't doing this here, but this ain't about party. This is about us. It's about us.
Yeah, but they never listen, Roland. You know that. Come on, Roland. You know they don't listen. If there's one thing, and you know this better than most, because you are a black man that speak, and you can't stand when people ain't listening, because you know they should be listening to you, and it drives you crazy, okay? You know historically, black folks, black men lament their voices being heard. And oh, by the way, little kept secret, we gonna put it out there on Front Street. A lot of times we don't feel the women are listening to us. And so that plays a role too. And that's not fair. That's not always fair. Because a lot of times they are listening. We just ain't making no damn sense sometimes. So I get that part.
I can tell
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
First of all, black women been swinging for us for a long time, even when we were silent.
Oh, no doubt.
So here's what, and when we start talking about policy, when these brothers, I'm in Philadelphia right now doing a show tonight. I'm at Lincoln University tomorrow. When brothers come up to me and they say, man, I ain't doing nothing, I then go, What do you mean? So when Charles was talking about criminal justice reform, he was like, well, they didn't get the George Floyd Justice Act. They didn't. Biden-Harris signed an executive order. This civil rights division has investigated 12 police departments, one under Donald Trump. So things are actually happening. What has to happen is we have to make sure that we are also more organized to challenge power to actually get things done. So what should be happening right now is, with less than 30 days, brothers should be asking themselves, okay, everything Charles laid out is great. Here's the question. I'm a black man. What are the 5 things I care about? And where does Harris line up? And where does Trump line up? And if I got more check marks by Harris' name, I ain't even thinking about Donald Trump. Because see, let's be real clear. I'm going to put this out. You and I, it don't actually matter who wins. They don't actually have a material impact on us because of, frankly, where we are financially. But let me say this here to a brother out there who is asking the questions about unemployment, getting the capital for a business, things along those lines. You better be asking yourself, who cares about your health care? Who cares about your education? Who cares about civil rights? Who cares about the environment? You got a hurricane bearing down another one all across the country. If you a brother, who's providing benefits to you to be able to escape that so you can take care of your family? What we got to do is stop saying what folk not doing and step back and say, well, maybe, let me find out what people are doing and then how that's impacting my life.
Roland. I can feel you on that, Roland, but here's my deal. Like, for example, that message being sent by you is admirable. I'm glad I'm giving you my airwaves. You got your own, but I'm glad I'm giving you my airwaves to say, what you're saying, because you deserve it. The flip side to this is this, though. Kamala Harris should be saying that more effectively. And oh, by the way, I appreciate her on The View. I appreciate her on Stephen Colbert. I appreciate her in those platforms. They ain't Roland Martin. Now let me give you, and I know how liberal leaning you are. But I also know that even when liberals sit in front of you, they better bring their stuff. It's going to be a problem. You ain't going to let them off the hook.
Actually, I'll say this. I'm black leaning.
Yeah, fine. Right. No. I'm good with it. No, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. That's accurate. I'm just saying, where the hell, I ain't see, did she sit down with you yet?
Hold up. That's actually happening. Soon.
Okay. All right.
So,
okay.
But to your point, trust me, and I've been saying this for years as well. You're absolutely right. You have to also, for instance, about 3 weeks ago, she was on Ricky Smiley's show. They did all the smoke, but that's also part of the deal. Part of the deal is with these campaigns. I'm talking about strategists now. And again, they don't look like us. This is also getting to understand you better have a better respect for Black-owned media and for Black voices, and also how you're communicating. Again, where the campaigns have made a mistake is they don't understand the old model of hitting the Black churches, going into NAACP. That's gone. We're now living in a world. It's a digital world, a technology world. They're getting information from different voices, from podcasts, from digital shows. Listen, I pulled the data the other day. I said somebody, I've done your show 3 times. If you add up all the views, it almost hits 1 million. Guess what? It's the shows on CNN not even getting 400,000 people. So that's why those shows are mad, because people are going to other places. Look, 65% of my YouTube audience are Black men. What needs to be happening here, the messaging absolutely has to change. They got to be driving out more surrogates. But what you are seeing her talk about the opportunity. But what also has to happen, when we start talking about facts, when a brother tell me, man, Trump with the stimulus checks, I go, do you realize that Biden has gave you a bigger check in 2021?
That's right.
Are you aware
Trump gave us money? Trump gave us money for HBCUs. Do you realize that Biden is giving you a lot more for HBCUs? You realize that?
Wait, hold on. I'm about to really mess you up. The budget that Trump submitted cut HBCU funding.
I didn't know that.
The budget that Dr. Walter Kimbrough, who's been a HBCU president for 4 different schools, has broken down. He submitted budgets that actually cut HBCU funding. It was restored by Congress. But he's been pushing a lie. But again, folk fell for the lie of, oh, no, I guaranteed them funding. Not true. So all these
saw your show. I saw your show when you did that. I saw that guest on your show when you had to check him. I remember I watched that.
There you go. So all these people who are talking about what they haven't done, like, again, the Trump Department of Justice said we're going to pull back on consent decrees because they hurt police morale. The Trump, Jeff Sessions, Bill Barr, they investigated 1 police department. Biden-Harris DOJ, they've investigated 12. They've literally put cops in prison. So if you're saying who's been better on criminal justice reform, who's been holding cops accountable, it ain't even close. The problem is, and I've criticized the White House. I said, y'all gotta have, I've hit Karine Jean-Pierre saying, when you gonna talk about that from the podium? Every time they do it, I do it on my show. But the White House has not been aggressive at telling their own story, which is what Charles is talking about, and that's real. And if I interview the vice president, we're gonna talk about it. Not if, when I interview the vice president, we're gonna discuss that.
My last question, I'm gonna throw this about because this is a deep proportion. This is my thinking, and I'm not saying it's different than yours. It's just that being in corporate America, having to maneuver through the terrain that we've both have had to maneuver through for decades, knowing the challenges that we face. One of the things that I'm popular for saying is flatter me. You know, I want to buy a house. I ain't buying it without you showing it to me. I got to look in it. I want to buy a car. I want to see. I want to test drive that bad boy. I got to see it, you know. And then I think about civil rights, 1964. I think about voting rights, 1965. I think about Lyndon B. Johnson talking about we'll have the Negroes voting for us for the next 200 years if we pull this off. He was the president, but both Republicans and Democrats supposedly brought it to his desk to be signed, and the Democrats got all the credit for it. And ever since that time, to me, we have said to the Republican Party, we want nothing to do with y'all. And the Democratic Party has known this. So on one side, you got a party that knows they ain't going to get our support, as your chart showed. So therefore, they ain't going to do but so much. And on the left, they know they got our support. So how much do they have to do for us beyond lip service, which to me epitomizes the struggle involving disenfranchisement to some degree when we're talking about our community. It is fair for me to ask you, as my brother and my boy and who I respect, how right I am or how wrong I am in feeling that way, what I just articulated. I'll give you the last word and I'll lean on what you say.
You're partly right, but you got to go back way further.
Okay.
Black people coming out of slavery, people of African descent, formerly enslaved people of African descent, aligned with Republicans because there was a group called the Radical Republicans. It was the Radical Republicans that pushed forth the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, and they were opposed to slavery. Then you had about an 8 to 10 year period of Reconstruction. Black people were running for office. Majority of the South Carolina legislature, on and on and on. Then there was an election in 1876, contested election. They cut a deal, which is called the Great Compromise of 1877, where they pulled the federal troops out of the last 3 southern states. What then happened? Then the racist Southern Democrats took over and ran all the black people out. What then happened was the Radical Republicans, they stopped protecting black people. Black folks were angered. So then when you go through the black people, half of black people, and Bruce Bartlett, longtime Republican, go to his Twitter feed, he literally tweeted a bunch of this stuff earlier today, that you go through the early 20th century, more than 50% of black people were still voting Republican. Then the Republicans started aligning with Southern Democrats. It was called the Lily White movement. Y'all look up Lily White movement. Herbert Hoover was a leader of the Lily White movement. Then all of a sudden, you start going forward. Then what then happened? Well, a lot of these Republicans joined with Southern Democrats. They opposed FDR when it came to benefits for black people. Guess what? Started losing black support. Go to 1960. Kennedy, Nixon. Nixon was not aggressive in going after the black vote. That angered Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson talked about it in his book. And then you go to 64. 1964, it was Barry Goldwater, Senator Barry Goldwater, who opposed the 64 Civil Rights Act. That's when the break happened. That's when black folks said, oh, the hell with this here. We done with y'all. And that's when it flipped. Then you go to 68. They began to, and a lot of the Republicans were supportive of civil rights. And then go look at the Barry Goldwater book, The Conscience of a Conservative. And it is that book where the shift began to happen. Then you had the Southern Strategy. They began conservative Democrats, conservative Republicans, and people about to be blown away. A lot of those Republicans supported the 64 Civil Rights Act, 65 Voting Rights Act, but they filibustered the 68 Civil Rights Act. It was Senator Edward Brooke, black man, my alpha brother, who broke the filibuster in the Senate. But check this out. It continued in the House because the Republicans were like, well, we don't want them living with us as well. They'll join with the Democrats. King gets assassinated April 4, 68. LBJ sends a letter on April 5th, 68 saying this passed his bill to honor his legacy. It's signed into law 9 days later. But ever since then, the Republicans begin to use the Southern strategy. And they begin to align with those Southern Democrats, those Dixiecrats, and begin to drive on the issue of race. And ever since then, now, so Republican, you look, one of the first bills, I want to blow you away, one of the first bills Republicans took up after Trump won, became in 2017, they got rid of an Obama-era law to end discrimination in auto loans. One of the first bills. So what Republicans have not done is Republicans have made a decision. If we support a lot of this stuff black people care about, that's going to antagonize our white base. 70% of all voters, Stephen A., in America are still white. So what you're seeing right now, the Teamsters and all these unions, think about it. Biden-Harris is the most pro-union administration in more than 50 years. Why are so many of these union workers still supporting Trump? Because they're picking whiteness and culture over their own pocketbook. We got to understand, my book, White Fear, breaks it down. It's all there. Republicans are not going to support a lot of the issues that we care about because it does not align with their white base. That is a fact. And that's what you're seeing in the racial politics. And last point, real quick. When they keep saying the working class.
Real quick.
No.
Real quick.
The black working class is with Harris. Latino working class with Harris. The white working class, that's who's not with Harris. But they always leave out the white part and don't want to talk about that. You've got to confront whiteness as an identity in America to understand American politics, even in 2024.
One of the things I'm determined to do is to have a white conservative on this show to debate against you. I would love to see that. That would be must-see television. My brother, I got to get on. I know you ain't running. I know you coming. Listen, man, I appreciate you as always. You deserve the last word on that. I really appreciate that education and that perspective, my man. Thank you so much. Roland Martin, Unfiltered. Roland Martin, Unfiltered. Get registered. Always get registered. Vote. Go to the damn polls. Absolutely. Appreciate you, my brother. We'll talk soon. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Coming up, the WNBA finals are set. I'll break down the matchup between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. Plus, I got a little something to say about J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, before the show ends. Stick around. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show in a minute. Let me just take a second to make sure that everybody out there knows I'm in it to win it. And I demand nothing short of excellence. No question about that. And that's why right here at the Stephen A. Smith Show, we've decided to team up with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members to help turn all my sports knowledge into some big-time cash. You see, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you just choose 2, 3, or even up to 6 players from your favorite sports teams and then pick more or less on their projected stats for the game. You like Josh Allen? Pick him. You like Bryce Harper? Pick him too. You like Travis Hunter? Then damn it, pick all 3. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks, and then you sit back and watch the winnings roll right in. And get this, sign up with code SAS and Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on Prize Picks, and you'll get $50 instantly. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's really that easy. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. We'll start with the WNBA where the Minnesota Lynx punched their ticket to the finals last night, beating the Connecticut Sun 88-77. The Lynx will take on the New York Liberty in the aforementioned finals Thursday night on ESPN. Quick point. Nafisha Collier is no joke. She's something special. And you, the New York Liberty, you're going to have to deal with that girl. Make no mistake, you're going to have to deal with that young lady. No doubt about it. But it shouldn't be a problem. At some point in time, you the New York Liberty, New York stand up. New York stand up. New York stand up. You gonna win? This is your 6th NBA Finals. You're 0-5 in the finals. You got to win one of these. You got to win one of these. Okay? You got Breanna Stewart. You got Ionescu. You were in the finals last year. Handle your business. It's time for the New York Liberty to close the deal. I don't give a damn who the Minnesota Lynx have. I don't care how good they've been all year long. The Liberty's been right there. And if you can take out Asia Wilson and Plum and Gray and the crew, you should be able to take out Minnesota. That's all I got to say. Hell with hope. I have expectations. We need a basketball championship in New York. We ain't going to get it from the St. John's Red Storm. We ain't going to get it from the Brooklyn Nets. We haven't gotten it from the New York Knicks since 1973. This is our chance. Liberty. Handle your business, ladies. Handle your business. Now, before I get on out of here for the day, I felt compelled to bring up this story. I got a little hiccups going on right now. Courtesy of The Hollywood Reporter. It's entitled, Jennifer Lopez Gets Candid on Divorce, Scrapped Tour, and Online Backlash. Quote, if I see something that's hurtful, I'm not Teflon. And then when she's asked to speak about some things, and she's talking about how things unfolded, and everybody knows that she separated from Ben Affleck. Everybody knows what that situation, we saw it all in the news, stuff like that. Before I say anything else, before I read some of these quotes, I've had the pleasure of meeting Jennifer Lopez on a couple of occasions. Jennifer Lopez is a wonderful woman. Hardworking, very talented, very beautiful. Obviously, I met her when she was dating A-Rod. I don't blame her for commenting on certain things. And I don't blame her for feeling compelled to speak because she, the paparazzis and stuff like that, you think people like me have it bad. Ain't nothing compared to her. It's ridiculous. I'm telling y'all right now, I ain't seen shit like it. Maybe Michael Jackson, Prince, and a few other stars, but the way they get followed, the way they get mobbed, it's ridiculous. So her speaking up for herself, I don't blame her. But the one thing that I do want to say, she's talking about the breakup and she's being interviewed by that hilarious stand-up comedian, Nikki Glazer. You saw her with the Tom Brady roast. She's off the chain. But Jennifer Lopez said to her this quote, "It was like my whole fucking world exploded." She said in recapping the year, the separation and all of this stuff from Ben Affleck. She said, moments later, she continued, "I think what I love about life, that there's no arrival point. There's only getting better and growing if you want to. It's either growing or dying, and I don't want to do the dying part. And yeah, there's times when I thought I figured it out. And then life goes, let's send you another thing and see if you fall for it. Let's see if you really have learned that lesson. And I hadn't. I understand that now in a much deeper way, which doesn't mean that I won't make mistakes in the future. But again, when your whole house blows up, you're standing there in the rubble going, how do I not ever let that happen again?" Ladies and gentlemen, you know what I took the liberty of doing? Before I get out of here, I want to say this. I actually Googled marriage vows. Because you see, Jennifer Lopez, and it's not a criticism, it's just a suggestion because I truly do believe you're wonderful and I'm a fan and you've always been wonderful to me and I will never, ever disrespect you. But you've been married 4 times. 4. So I feel compelled or felt compelled to look up marriage vows. See, I ain't never been married. And I'm going to take that plunge someday. I'm going to take that plunge someday. I'm scared as hell because, trust me, it is a plunge. That's how I feel about it. I'm on a plank, all right? But let me say this. Reading marriage vows. I, such and such, take you, such and such, to be my lawfully wedded husband or wife. I promise to be true to you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. I will love you and honor you all the days of my life, to have and to hold from this day forward until death do us part. That's what you're saying to one person. Where the hell are other three supposed to come from? That's the issue. Don't get married. Don't get married no more. Until you know ain't no way in hell there's the slightest sliver of a chance of you getting a divorce. I'd even tell you, give you incentive, and I'll end the show on this note. My boy Cardell Brooks, I'm diming him out on national airwaves, or the international airwaves of YouTube, okay? I'm diming him out. He's been on this show before, came on live from Vegas last year before the Errol Spence Jr. Terrence Crawford fight. Do you know what, my boy, who I love dearly, but damn it, he's a flaming idiot sometimes? Are y'all ready for this, Griff, Sherry, Michael, Rashawn, all your married ass folks out there? Let me not forget Pot-Bellied Galen. Do y'all know what what my man Cardell said? I want y'all to keep in mind, the dude is broke. He ain't got that much money. All right? I mean, he got a good job and all that, but he ain't making buku dollars, right? You know what he said? I already got a prenup agreement drawn up. It's a true story. Whoever leaves gets nothing. That's the prenup agreement. No matter what. Here was his explanation. We said we loved one another. We said we would cherish one another. We would be there for each other forever and ever. You understand? We went up on an altar in a church before God and said, forever until death do us part. Where the hell do you think you're going? That's what he did. That's why all my boys, when he turned around, he couldn't find us because we was on the floor and we was laughing that damn hard. He said his prenup agreement is one sentence. Whoever leaves gets nothing. That's how he felt. Ladies and gentlemen, we were in our 20s. He's in his 50s and he still feels that way. The brother ain't all there. But I love him. And the funny thing is, if J-Lo had followed that mandate, might not be any problems. Whoever leaves gets nothing. I'm just speculating. Not that Ben Affleck needs anything from her, she needs anything from him. But you can't have those vows. And go back for, yeah, divorce and all of that stuff is legal. But that's why people are talking. So just be with somebody and don't get married. You are gorgeous. You are smart. You are incredibly gifted. You are incredibly accomplished. And like you said in that Hollywood Reporter article, you don't need much. You ain't looking for nobody. So stay single. It ain't like the brother gonna leave you because you didn't marry him. Who's leaving you? If they don't have to worry about the paper, as in a marriage certificate. Just a suggestion. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I want to take a moment to give a happy birthday shout out to my man Griff, as in Thomas Griffin, one of my producers here, does a great job, gets on my last damn nerves every day. But it doesn't mean he doesn't do a good job, and it doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a happy birthday wish. Happy birthday to my man Griff. All the best to you, your two beautiful kids, and your wife moving forward, my brother. Just stop getting on your boss's damn nerves, and everything will be all right. Y'all take care. This is Stephen A. signing off. Until next time. Peace and love.